Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. After 25 years of talks, the EU is finally ready to sign off on its biggest ever trade deal with South America's Mercosur bloc. Now, the agreement promises lower tariffs and better access to key raw materials. The opposition from countries like France and Italy has eased due to new safeguards, including a so-called brake mechanism. And now to discuss what all this means, we're joined in the studio by Professor Barbara Wieliczko from the Institute of Rural Development at the Polish Academy of Sciences. Welcome to TVP World. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
I want to start first. One of the opposition countries in all this over this time has been Poland. That seems to also have been a little bit shifted. I want to just share now a quick clip to ground our conversation with the Prime Minister Donald Tusk, what he said yesterday about the newest state of affairs with Mercosur. Let's listen now.
I will also find time to discuss in a one-on-one conversation with President Macron how to mitigate the effects of Mercosur. What I also said at the Cabinet Council and explained to the President that there is no one apart from Poland at the moment who wants to block Mercosur, so we can't vote it down. Poland will oppose Mercosur because we want to at least demonstrate that we will not let go when it comes to the interests of Polish agricultural producers. But we don't have partners to block it at the moment.
Right, so we heard there the Prime Minister saying that he wants to mitigate the effects of this. I mean, this has been controversial in Poland for a while, but also in France and Italy. Let's start with that first. Why has that opposition from France and Italy fallen away? Why is Poland the only one really saying, well, hang on, let's not do this?
Because they can count, and they don't have any elections coming, and in Poland although we also don't have elections coming very soon, the political debate is very heated, and we know that opposition is strongly related to agriculture, and farmers are always very organized, mobilized to protest. So Polish opposition to this Mercosur agreement was related to the internal political issues, not the actual outcome of the negotiations yet.
All right, okay. So also you said because they can count. If we're looking at the next process, I mean, we've heard now yesterday this release of the Mercosur agreement. Now the executive of the EU has now said, okay, this is going forward. The next step is the Council, right? So again, these representatives of European states and the European Union. And then how quickly can we say, is this now going to be finally in place and finalized? What's the next step here? How fast will this be really law?
Yes, it was very long, but it's normal for such big agreements to last a couple of years, maybe not that long as this one. Yes, now this can be faster thanks to the voting in the European Parliament and the Council. Of course, the dates can be decided differently, so it can be longer or shorter, but definitely much shorter than the process so far.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit more, Professor, why has this urgency now come to finalize this deal? I mean, it's one of the largest ever created between these two blocs, South American countries, as well as the European Union. So what's behind the urgency, and what does Europe gain out of all of this?
So there is one word we can say why is it so urgent. President Trump and his trade policies, or rather different moods. So European Union tries to position itself well in this very unstable situation, and we know that this process has been going on, negotiating with Mercosur countries, and now with the problems of the European car industry losing the battle because of lack of electric cars that are competitive in comparison to China, and the problems with accession to the US market, it's the right time to finally have bigger access to the Mercosur market.
Mm-hmm. You said it's a long time as well, but also visually, I mean, I remember not that long ago, we've had quite a lot of protests in Poland as well, the farmers. We've seen them in France, in Germany, the Netherlands, the capital of Belgium, Brussels. So that is now dissipated. So this is all gone. So why did this fall fall away? Are the farmers now happy, or did they get what they wanted? I mean, we went from one thing to the other in relatively quick time. What's behind all that?
Well, there was this strategic dialogue with all the stakeholders related to agriculture in the EU, and it was a very interesting process, and all the problems or the voices were heard, and they are part of the vision for food systems that was published in February by the European Commission. But in my opinion, the protests are going to come, and Mercosur will make this happen quickly, because the propositions for the next multi-annual financial framework of the EU is not very good for farmers. The EU budget for common agriculture policy has not been growing for a very, very long time. And we know that in the whole EU, after COVID, there was significant inflation. So the real value of the direct payments farmers receive has significantly decreased. There are problems with finding workers. Costs of energy, very important for EU farmers, have been growing very rapidly. So farmers fear the competition from countries where the labor costs, the energy costs are much lower, and the standards that they have to keep are much lower. So this is just showing it that they are afraid of the future, that they are afraid what is going to come, and whether they can keep their businesses. So this is not against Mercosur or this agreement, but against decades of neglecting agriculture and rural areas. And European Commission, the previous one, the current one, tries to do something about it, but without bigger budget, they can do nothing.
You mentioned an interesting point there, the MFF, so the EU's large budget, still in the process, less assigned to farmers. Also interesting, if we look at the GDP, what comes from farming, especially in France, that's actually roughly around, I think, almost 2%, but it's declining, right? Same with Poland, it's a bit bigger, but it's declining. So farmers are worried, as you said. There's this idea also touted and supported by, well, the budget commissioner actually, so Serafin of Poland, about these brake mechanisms. So if something does go wrong. So tell us a bit more what the competences are, how quickly that could be deployed. What would that look like in case of an emergency where, let's say, certain goods come and flood the market? How does that work realistically?
Realistically, it can work if there is really cooperation and all the statistical offices, I mean, all the people responsible for the data on what's coming to Europe cooperate and inform each other quickly so that it can be stopped really when the problem arises. This is related to what we saw with the Ukrainian access to the EU market and Polish protests about the wheat coming from Ukraine. And there, the mechanism for Poles didn't work because the stop was decided at the EU level. So if there is, you know, some problems at the EU level market, and here the proposal is that it will be stopped when the problems appear at the level of a single country. So this can work only if all the countries cooperate and, you know, are honest about the data and the situation on their markets, because, you know, with free movement of goods, you know, the goods can come to one country and appear on the market of a different country, and the costs and the situation of farmers in different EU member states is slightly different. So what can be of no problem for one country can be a huge problem for the other. So this has to be the solidarity of informing each other about the situation and you know, acting quickly.
Mm-hmm. But it does sound, as you said, if the data is current and what you've just told us here, that there is more power in individual states from actually pulling that emergency circuit breaker. Is that correct in my understanding?
Yes, this is the proposal. We have to see, you know, the regulation to see if this really will act in this way, so that member states can be safer and more secure, that whenever they see the problem, this will appear, because the countries bordering Ukraine protested a lot during the last years that the wheat is coming. It is not that visible on the EU market because it's not going further, but to the neighboring countries. So this should be seen as an EU problem, not the problem of a single country.
And just also for the next steps, we talked about at the beginning, but pretty much the major next point is the European Parliament. Do you see at any point that there will be enough opposition that this goes back to the executive, to the Commission, or is this now pretty much a done deal if we're looking at the next few weeks and months?
Well, I'm sure that there will be a heated debate about that, but generally I suppose that the political parties will maybe don't have to, try to force their member of parliament to vote in a certain way, but surely they will try to mobilize themselves to vote as they see right. So probably the majority will be for the agreement.
All right. So a major deal, 25 years in the making, major benefits for both sides. At least that's what they're saying and telling us. We'll see how it all works out. Thank you so much, Professor, for outlining all of this. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but there's much more coming up right here on TVP World. So stay tuned for more. Bye-bye.